Emily Miller of the Washington Times joins us on the program. Emily, how you doing tonight?
Well, Cam, I've got Bachelorette on pause for you.
Oh, you are so good to us. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's fantasy suite night on Bachelorette, which makes it even more difficult to hit pause to see if all the guys are going to get a key to the fantasy suite.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, nobody tweet any spoilers for Emily while she's on the program here. Listen, we do appreciate you coming on tonight because, you've Emily, really, I'm just amazed, and I'm so pleased that the D.C. area has a reporter like you covering the gun issue, because you have just done incredible work documenting how bad D.C.'s gun laws are and the real people who get caught up in it. And I think that you've shamed the D.C. government in a lot of respects here, because it looks like they're getting ready to try to make some more changes.
That's right, Cam. Well, thank you for what you said. As I've been writing, I write about the gun laws in D.C. I do meet people, especially veterans, who've been horribly treated by this city because of the gun laws. And, like you said, it really puts a face to an issue and to a law and how it really affects people's lives. And, it's just wrong. And the city has gone on too long treating law-abiding people like criminals because they accidentally bring guns into the city. And as you know, D.C. has these laws that are so bizarre, not like anywhere else in the country. And, people make mistakes because they don't know them. Because, only in D.C. would you find out that ammunition without a gun is illegal.
Right.
It's just horrible. And people end up in jail and have records. And they've done, nothing wrong except for break these ridiculous laws. Well, the good news is after about a month, I've been reporting on all these veterans who've been, unfairly treated by the city. The chairman of the D.C. City Council, Phil Mendelson, current chairman of the D.C. City Council, told me on Friday that he'll be introducing legislation this week that will change the laws change the punishment for visitors to D.C. if they are caught with an unregistered firearm or unregistered ammunition or one single banned pistol, a bullet,
right,
type of bullet. They will have the option for the judge to give them an administrative verdict, meaning a non-criminal civil verdict, which will be a fine, as opposed to criminal, so they won't have a record. And this would only apply to non-residents. And I feel good about that because it's the non-residents who really don't know the law. And so all these tourists who come to D.C. every year, and, it's the nation's capital, and the military who come in and out and are just used to having guns and ammunition on them won't end up in jail, and they won't end up with criminal records. And I think that's just so important, and will sort of gives people who are visiting the Capitol a little bit more, gun owners feel a little bit more relaxed, that they're not going to trip up some weird law that they didn't know about. So it's a positive thing, and so Phil Mendelson will be introducing that, he said today. So it should be, since he is the chairman, it should go through pretty quickly.
And again, this is going to be for firearms and ammunition?
For both firearms and ammunition, because as you know, you can't have unregistered, they call it, ammunition in D.C.
Right.
Or it's the same penalty as having a gun, which is so nonsensical. Because obviously, what are you going to do with a handful of 9mm rounds? But so the penalty for both is up to a year in jail and a $1,000 fine, and it's a misdemeanor and it's criminal. So all these people, like we've talked about, Lieutenant Augustine Kim and Specialist Adam Meckler more recently with ammunition, no matter whatever they have done, the penalty has been the same, and they all have criminal records. And so this will eliminate that. So if that happens again, and once this law is passed, if a visitor to D.C. is caught with an unregistered firearm or ammunition, they will pay a fine, have no record, and not be put in jail. And I think because of that, because of the change in penalty, the police will be less aggressive, especially with veterans who obviously the police have not served overseas and are sort of threatened by these equally armed, better prepared people. And I think that's sort of one of the reasons they target them. But since they're not going to be able to put them in jail, they're not going to be arresting them, they're not going to get a criminal record, I think there'll be less incentive to sort of, not just let them go and say, you made a mistake, you can't stop here, keep going through the city.
Right. Yeah, and now the next step, I think, Emily, has to be, I think the D.C. residents, frankly, should be able to have their ammunition there. I mean, it just bothers me on some level. You're right that the non-residents shouldn't know these laws like the back of their hand, but D.C. residents shouldn't have to live under these laws either.
Well, that's right. I mean, that's the thing is I say, I'm happy because I really do feel so much sympathy for just the people who I've profiled in the Washington Times who have been, thrown in jail, and some people for up to 2 weeks for violating these laws that don't exist in the rest of the country. And so I just have such sympathy for them. But I don't see how this law is going to hold up in the courts when you don't have equal protection for residents and non-residents. So, my neighbor could have, an unregistered gun and will go to jail, and then you could come over from Virginia and with your gun, and we would give you a fine. So
right.
I just don't see how this is going to turn out to work out legally. I don't think it is going to. But at least if they pass it, even if it doesn't hold up in court, it will eliminate the people who are really getting it done. But you're right. The big picture is these registration laws are so stupid, so nonsensical. They've done nothing to help crime in this city. Violent crime is up. Bad guys are not registering their guns, and bad guys, criminals, are not stopping getting guns because they're not registered. They're not walking
Right.
down the street being like, dude, is a gun registered before I take it to kill someone or, rob someone with their iPhone? I mean, it's just ridiculous. And all it does is criminalize other people. And some of these laws, I think, are on the books so that they can throw it on top of other charges, assault plus unregistered gun. And I've seen the numbers now, and it's about 700 or 800 a year are charged with this unregistered ammunition. About 25 are non-residents. So it's a significant number, but so very few of them are the top charge.
Right.
It's mostly, they have a gun. So it's this silly little loophole that they are using mostly to tack on top of other charges. But not always, In the case of Adam Meckler, and there's 25 other people just like him who are non-residents of the city every year, who just have ammunition, who don't have a gun, who are thrown in jail and have a record. So, Adam Meckler, I've talked about recently, and just left the military and had this horrible experience. He cooperated with me, and he said, I want to do this because I don't want this to happen to someone else. This seems really unfair, and really embarrasses me to have this criminal record, embarrasses me to be on the gun offenders registry, which he is now. And, he just wanted, so I'm so happy for him because going public is, a big risk. Your boss knows that you have this criminal record now. And so I'm so glad for him because he really did make a difference in doing this. And so do all the other soldiers who've talked to me.
All right. Well, listen, Emily, we'll let you get back to your shows. Thank you again, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you.